Hello everyone and welcome to my video. I'm Gravel and today I'm going to teach you more about Yugioh, and this time we will go for the monsters. As you maybe know, there are different kinds of card types. There are the monsters, then we have the spells, and we have the traps. Monsters can have different colors. This is basically the, let's say, standard color for effect monsters. This is the green cards are always spells, and these pink, purple, or whatever you call them, that color those cards with the pink color are always traps. And for this video, we will go over the different kinds of monsters. And as for the monsters, we have the normal monsters, we have the effect monsters, then we have ritual monsters, fusion monsters, synchro monsters, axis monsters, then we have pendulum monsters, and we have link monsters. These are the different kinds of monsters there are in this game. So, the first thing, if you look at the card here, so a normal monster. Here we have our stars. Those stars can have 1 to 12 stars. So those stars mean the level. So a monster can be from level 1 to 12. And of course, the level can change with card effects, but this is the base level. And yeah, then we have at the top here, we'll look at it. Yeah, sorry, I don't have the best camera. At the top, we have the card name. On the right side here, we have the attribute. Then we have the type in brackets above the card text. Then a flavor text at the normal monsters. At effect monsters, there would be a card effect. Then we have the attack points. In this case, yeah, it's 80k. Is 1700. Then we have the defense points, def, 1600. Those are the important parts of a monster. So a normal monster is, yeah, it has no effects, but so it doesn't have any restrictions, but also no other advantages. There are cards that say, yeah, null monster or non-effect monster, then you can always say, yeah, this card counts as a null monster, but also as a non-effect monster because it doesn't have an effect. And yeah, the important thing at monsters is, yeah, you have for each turn you have one normal summon, unless you have card effects that give you additional normal summons. But yeah, to play a monster, you can put it in your can put it in your main monster zone, either in face-up attack position to summon it in attack position, or put it face down in defense position to set it as in defense position. You can't play it in face-up defense position if you summon it from your hand without any effects. But on another turn than the turn you summoned it, you can also switch your monster to defense position if it was in attack position. Or if it was in face down defense position, or you can also flip it up into attack position. Or if it is in face up defense position, you can switch it to attack position. Important is the attack position is needed if you want to battle with that monster. And if you attack with this monster, no matter if it succeeds with it, it can't switch to defense position on that turn anymore. Yeah, so one normal summon per turn. Of course, there are other ways you can get out monsters called special summons. Special summons are by card effects. Some cards say on it, yeah, you can special summon this card, for example, if you control another monster. or if your opponent controls a monster, or if you have a monster of a specific type on your field, then you can special summon that monster. But it has to be written either on that card or another card has to allow you to special summon a monster. At special summons, you have an infinite amount of special summons, unless a card limits that. And yeah, basically special summons are the main way to summon monsters nowadays. Of course, the normal summon is an important resource. You shouldn't waste it on a monster that doesn't help you at all. It's often kind of the base of your turn. And also you have infinite flip summons, but of course you can only flip summon if the monster wasn't summoned that turn yet. Okay, then important is next the effect monsters. Effect monsters are a bit darker in the frame color here and such. They have a card effect, and yeah, they can use that card effect on your turn, on your main phase, or if it is a quick effect or an effect that says on the turn of either player, you can also use it during the battle phase, end phase, standby phase, draw phase, or your opponent's turn. But yeah, most effects are only on your turn, and if it doesn't say you can activate it from your hand or your graveyard or such, it is always only available on your field. Then also important is this card here is a tuner monster. At tuner monsters, tuner monsters are needed for synchro summons. Non-tuner monsters are all monsters that don't have tuner written on the card. You see, a card has a type, then would be the subtype. A subtype can be tuner, tunes, or spirit, flip. There are different subtypes. But yeah, tuner is one of the most important subtypes. And we have effect because it is an effect monster. Of course, null monsters can also be tuner monsters if they're written the type and then the subtype tuner. Okay. Then basically an effect monster that is on the main deck is the same like as a normal monster, just it has an effect and doesn't count as normal or non-effect monster. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Important when you summon monsters from your hand is if you don't special summon them, you have to pay attention to the level. You see, you can normal summon monsters from level 1 to 4 without any tributes. You can just normal summon them and it's done. At monsters of level 5 and 6, so the stars again, at level 5 and 6, you have to tribute one monster that you control on the field. And at level 7 or higher monsters, you have to tribute 2 monsters. So, yeah, that's how you perform a tribute summon then. A tribute summon is also always treated as a normal summon. So a normal summon can be either without tribute or with tribute. It just depends on the level of your monster. Then next we have a fusion monster. Fusion monsters are purple. They have listed. They often have effects. They also have a level. They have an attribute, a card name, a type, and subtypes. One of the subtypes is fusion. On the card, then at the top of the effect, underneath the type and such, you have listed the requirements, or well, the materials you need to have in your hand or on your field. Some cards also allow you to use them from other places, but mainly it's from your hand and or field. And this, for example, Thundering Colossus needs a Thunder Drain and one Thunder monster. Then you can summon it. But important is, at fusion monsters, you can't just say, I'll send those to the graveyard and that's it. Then you can summon it. But instead, you have to use a card that allows you to use allows you to fusion summon. Fusion summons are always treated as special summons. They are never treated as normal summons. So that means if you, for example, the main way is to activate the card Polymerization, a spell card, which says, yeah, you have to send those monsters from your hand and or field to the graveyard to perform the fusion summon of a monster that lists those monsters as the materials. Then you can summon it from your extra deck. So it starts in your extra deck, and then you can get it out there and summon it. So if you summon it like that, it's a fusion summon, and you have it on your field. You can summon it. Fusion monsters can be summoned in the main monster zone, in face-up attack, or face-up defense position. That's important. Special summons are always in face-up attack or defense position. Never face down unless the fact says, yeah, you have to summon it in face-down defense position. Otherwise, it is always face-up. And also, monsters that are from the extra deck are monsters that never count as available for normal summons. Also, you can summon it either here in your main monster zone if it comes from the extra deck, or your extra monster zone. And if important is, if none of the extra monster zones are used, you can choose which one you use. But the other one then is only for your opponent unless you perform an extra link, which I can explain later. Yeah. So, also important, if you have it in an extra deck and a card, for example, sends it to the graveyard. That's with all extra deck monsters. You can't special summon it from your graveyard because they have to be properly summoned. So a fusion monster has to officially have been fusion summoned, so you can special summon it back from the graveyard. But many monsters also say, yeah, you can only fusion summon this card. Like this monster can only be summoned by a fusion summon or such. But yeah. Then, so we have the fusion summon monsters. Then, what came after the fusions? Then came the synchro monsters. Synchro monsters are like, at those you also have the level, so basically everything is the same, but they have a subtype synchro. And they work exactly like fusion monsters, but instead of having to use a card that allows you to fusion summon, to synchro summon a synchro monster, you need usually one tuner and one or more non-tuner monsters. For example, Beals here needs, in this case, a dark tuner monster, because it is written on the card in the place where fusion summon monsters have their fusion materials. And next to it, you also have plus one or more non-tuner monsters. Non-tuner monsters are, like I said, all monsters that don't have tuner as subtype. So, for example, you need a tuner. We have here this card for this monster, for example, is level 2. Important is, if you want to synchro summon, you have to control the materials on your field. They can't be in your hand. You have to have them on the field. And as you can see, Beals is level 8. So you have to use monsters that have in total exactly 8 stars. So exactly 8 levels. So if you use this one, level 2 monster, as non-tuner, as a tuner, the non-tuner has to be, or the non-tuners, if you use multiple, you can of course use multiple, if the monster doesn't say otherwise. The non-tuners have to be in total level 6. And here we have a non-tuner, which is level 6, and we have a tuner level 2. That means you tune them together, send them to the graveyard, and then you can summon this from your extra deck. Synchro monsters always are in the extra deck. Same rules, of course, as at the fusion monsters. They can't be special summoned from the graveyard or other places unless they are properly summoned. From your extra deck, you can special summon them if an effect says it. But yeah, then they don't count as properly summoned. But yeah, like I said, if you control these two and if these are face up, you can summon this from your extra deck by sending those two to your field from your extra deck. So these are sent. And then, yeah, you can summon it out again, either to the main monster zone or the extra monster zone. Important is at fusion monsters though. At fusion monsters, your materials don't have to be face up. They can also be face down. Because if it is in your hand, you see, at a monster in your hands, that one is never face up for your opponent. So also at the face down monsters, they don't have to be face down. They don't have to be face up because, yeah, it's basically the same like in your hand. But important is, of course, you have to be allowed to use them, which can be proven then by sending them to the graveyard. So, yeah, at synchro monsters, they have to be face up on the field. They can't be in your hand or in the graveyard or anywhere else. Okay. Then we have a similar case at the Xyz monsters. Xyz monsters are always black. The synchro monsters are always white. The fusion monsters are always purple. Xyz monsters are a bit different than Xyz are a bit different than fusion and ritual monsters, or fusion and synchro monsters, because as you can see, the stars are now not on the right side, like at the other monsters, but on the left side. This that means because they're also black stars here, they are. This isn't a level. This is a rank. Important at Xyz monsters is they don't have a level. Since they don't have any of the orange stars, it doesn't mean they are level 0. They don't have a level at all. So any effect that asks for a level can't use and also doesn't apply to Xyz monsters. And to summon an Xyz monster, you need again 2 face-up monsters, but this time they have to be the same level. So for example, let's say we have these two monsters. And with these two monsters, these monsters always start in the extra deck. We have 2 level 4 monsters now. What do? You don't send these two to the graveyard now. No, you actually stack them upon each other and then put the Xyz monster on top. Because Xyz monsters need those monsters as Xyz materials for their effects. They almost always have an effect that says, yeah, you can detach one material to activate this and this effect. For example, Everspell has the effect, by detaching one material, you can your opponent cannot activate cannot activate effects in the graveyard anymore for the rest of the turn. So if you detach an Xyz material, you take it here away from under the monster and send it to the graveyard. Otherwise, it's basically like the others again. You can only special summon it from the graveyard if you have properly Xyz summoned it. Important at Xyz monsters though is that if, for example, if you have a monster summoned, that if you summon a monster with an effect that says, yeah, if the monster leaves the field, the monster if the monster would be sent to the graveyard, it is banished instead. This doesn't apply at Xyz monsters because at Xyz monsters it kinda leaves the field, but not exactly because it is not on the field anymore. It is also, but it also isn't in the deck or such. It isn't in any official zone, so you can use it as Xyz material. And then when you detach it as a material for as Xyz material for an effect, then it is actually sent to the graveyard because it didn't leave the field in that moment. So it is a way to get around restrictions that say, yeah, you have if it is banished if it leaves the field. But also important, if you detach a pendulum monster, it is also sent to the graveyard because it isn't sent from the field to the graveyard. But yeah, that's actually all for Xyz monsters. So again, no level means they can't be affected by card effects that need a level. Their materials don't leave the field, they become materials underneath it. And detaching materials means those materials go to the graveyard. Unless a card effect on the field says, yeah, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, for example. Okay, then we have that done. Next, we go for pendulum monsters. Yeah, one of the kinda, let's say, yeah, controversial effect, let's say, controversial monster subtypes. So, for that, to explain that, we need multiple monsters here. So, let's put that here. Okay, so, as you can see, they have the stars like a normal, like effect monsters. They also have the attribute, the type, everything. But now we have two text boxes and they are green like spells at the bottom. That's how you can see those are pendulum monsters. So, important is we have here at this card, for example, on the left and right side we have crystals and a number underneath. That number actually says, yeah, what the pendulum scale is. And the scale is important because you can either summon your monster to the field like a monster, or you can put it on the left or right spell and trap zone, your pendulum scales, as a spell. Important is if you use a monster like if you use a pendulum monster like a spell, you can't set it. It has to be face up. So if a card says you can, you have to set you have to set spells before you can activate them. You can't play pendulum monsters as spells. Okay. So also, if you put a monster in your scale, it is also an activation. Okay. Also, the top text box between those numbers here is the pendulum effect. So it is an effect that only applies if it is in your pendulum zone. Those are the pendulum zones. And if you summon it as a monster, you can only use the effect at the bottom, at the normal text box. Okay. Next is important is, remember this card has a scale of 2. Now this one has a scale of 8. So now I put 2 monsters in the scales. Since there are spells, you can activate as many as you want. But important is, if you have a monster or a card already in your scales, like if you have 2 in your scales, you can't activate another one unless you kind of find a way to remove those from your scales. Okay, and now the special thing at pendulum monsters is, if you have 2 scales, you can now summon monster can once per turn perform a pendulum summon. A pendulum summon is, you can say you have 2 scales, and now you can summon monsters between those scales. So we have 2 and 8. That means we can summon monsters from level 3 to 7 at the same time as one summon from your hand to the field. Or also from your face-up extra deck, which I will talk about in a second. But yeah, you can summon them. If it comes from an extra deck, it has to go to the pendulum zone. It has to go to the extra monster zone, or to zones a link monster points to, which I will also explain when I come to a link. But yeah, you summon them face up, never face down, always face up. In attack or defense position, you choose that. But yeah, we can summon only monsters between the 2 scales, so not the same as one of the scales or outside the scale. Okay, now important is, if a pendulum monster that you have on the field, or a pendulum spell, because now it is a pendulum spell here, if it leaves the field without its activation or summon being negated, it will not go to the graveyard, but, well, kinda, it goes to the graveyard first, but immediately goes over to the extra deck and gets sent face up on the extra deck. And if a card says, yeah, monsters sent to the graveyard are banished instead, these monsters will never arrive at the graveyard. That means they can't move over to the extra deck. Same is if your scales are destroyed. It works exactly the same as if your monsters are destroyed or sent for a summon or such. They go to the extra deck after going to the graveyard. So first graveyard, then extra deck. But only if they arrive at the graveyard, they can go to the extra deck. If the summon or the activation of your panel monsters or panel spells are negated, then they go to the graveyard if they are destroyed. They will not go to the extra deck because they were never officially on the field. And if... Oh, wait, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So, where were we? So, important is if they are Xyz materials, like I said, they will be sent to the graveyard. Since they don't leave the field in this moment, they will not go to the extra deck. So that is kind of a weakness at them. Because the strength is, if they are in the extra deck, you can summon them again by using a pendulum summon. But important is, you only have one pendulum summon each turn. So it's kind of like a normal summon, but a special summon. Also important, all summons from the extra deck are special summons. They are never normal summons. So you have infinite summons from your extra deck, as long as you have the materials and the zones for that. Okay. So, with that, if a card, if a panel monster is sent from your hand or your deck or such to the graveyard, they are of course also only sent to the graveyard. They won't go to the extra deck. Okay. Then next we come to the link monsters. So, a link monster is kind of similar in one way to an Xyz monster because it also doesn't have a level. Instead, now it has a link rating, or it says link 2 at the bottom. That's the link rating. And it has arrows. This one has arrows to the bottom left and bottom right. Link monsters have to be summoned to the extra monster zone if they are summoned from the extra deck, or to a monster a link monster points to. So, for example, this one allows you to summon those to this zone and this zone. If it would point up, it gives your opponent some more link zones. Also, it has its materials again listed here. For example, this one needs 2 dragon monsters. Also, the link rating means how much link you need for that. So if a monster says, yeah, you need one or more dragon monsters, for example, then you need still 2 monsters because you need to reach that link. A non-link monster is always treated as link 1 for that, for a link summon. And link monsters can be treated as either their actual link rating or link 1 for a link summon. So if you have, for example, a link 3 monster that has 2 or more monsters, then you can either use 3 monsters or 1 link 2 monster and 1 other monster. The materials are also sent to the graveyard, like synchro monsters. But if it is a panel monster, then it goes to the graveyard and then to the extra deck. So link monsters are actually great in combination with panel monsters. If you play a panel deck, it's probably link monsters are your most help. So if you have one here, you can now also pendulum summon your monsters from your extra deck to the zones it points to. From your hand, it doesn't matter where you summon them. You can only summon them to the main monster zones though. from your extra deck, the panel monsters can only be summoned to the monsters link monster points to the zones of monster link monster points to, or the extra monster zone. Okay. Then some link monsters have effects that say, yeah, if a monster is co-linked, or if a monster is in a monster a link monster points to, a monster or a linked monster. A linked monster is, yeah, this monster points to a monster. A co-linked is, it is two linked monsters that point at each other. And yeah, that's how it works. And an extra link, which is almost never used nowadays, is you have a chain of link monsters that point to each other from one zone to the other. So you can have one here, one here, one here, and then one here if they all point at each other. Or you can have one here and one here, for example, if they all point at each other. It doesn't matter how your chain is, as long as all point to each other. Then you can use the second extra monster zone as well. But usually you only use one of your extra monster zones. And the only ones that are actually affected by the link arrows in terms of where you can summon the monster, those are only link and panel monsters nowadays. Also important is, other than all other monsters, link monsters don't have a defense stat. That means they can't be switched to defense in any way. They can only be in attack position. But they have their normal attack still, and they can also be attacked as every other monster. They also have their effect. They're basically like other monsters, but without a level. Instead, they have a link rating, and without defense points. So yeah, that's how you play them. And like all extra deck monsters, they can only be special summoned from other places than the extra deck if they were properly link summoned. Okay. And the last monster type, basically important is though, we also have some combinations of subtypes. The combinations can be panel monsters that are also Xyz monsters, synchro monsters, or Xyz fusion or synchro monsters. You can see them; they kind of have the green color at the bottom again, the scale and everything like a monster here, but otherwise are the normal their normal subtype. But yeah, you can't put them in the scale from the extra deck. They only go there if they are destroyed and have an effect that allows you to do that. Otherwise, they basically work the same, like extra deck monsters at first, and then later on, like panel monsters if they are sent to the extra deck. And also important at Pendulum Xyz monsters is, if you Pendulum summon, you look at the stars. You don't look at a level or such. You look at the stars, because if you have for example a scale from 2 to 8, then you can summon from 3 to 7, which means 4 would be also right, even if there is a rank. But that only works if it is a Pendulum Xyz monster. Otherwise, you can only summon monsters with a level like that. And if it is face down in your extra deck, you can summon it as a Pendulum summon. Okay. And then we come to the last subtype of monster. Wait, I have to find that quickly. Yeah. Wait, I quickly have to find that. Here, we have ritual monsters. Ritual monsters have the same ruling as your extra deck monsters. They can only be special summoned. They can never be normal summoned. and they have to be properly summoned so you can summon them from other places. But instead of in the extra deck, they are in your main deck. And to summon them, you have to have them in your hand, along with a ritual spell that mentions it or allows you to summon it. And you have to have also monsters that have a level that equals or exceeds the level of the ritual monster. So, for example, this one is level 8. So now you have to have monsters that have a total of 8 or more stars. For example, these two. Those are a level 7 monster and a level 2 monster. So we have 9. That still works. But you can't use additional monsters if one monster would already be enough. So you can't say, yeah, I have a level 8 monster, but I want more in the graveyard. Okay, I'll use an additional monster. You can only use either exact or only what you need to really summon it. But you can, so if you have 2 monsters, that already would be enough to actually summon it. Then you can only use them on non-additional monsters. But you can say, okay, I use a different combination to so none of them would be enough unless I use all of them. But yeah. So to summon a ritual monster, you have to activate the ritual spell. Then you tribute the monsters from your hand and or field. So they are attributed, you send them to the graveyard. And then you ritual summon your monster. That's how it works. Otherwise, on the field it's basically like a normal effect monster. But yeah, it also was special summoned. Ritual summons are always special summons. But it is also a ritual monster as a subtype. Other than that, there are no differences. It has its attack and defense points. It has its type, subtype, attribute, its level, card name, everything. Okay. So this is how you use all the monster types. I hope you understood it. If you have any questions or such, if there's something you didn't understand, don't hold back from writing in the comments. I'm always happy to reply to your comments. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video now. And if you did, then please like, subscribe. Also check out the other playthroughs on my channel if you want to watch more. In the description, find a link to Linktree where you can find all the profiles, link to this channel, including the Twitch channel where you can watch me stream live, and also the post where you can vote for the next games I play and the players used on the next eFootball stream. And if you have any wishes, questions, or feedback, then write it in the comments and I'll make sure to read and reply. And I hope to see you next time again. Have a great time. Bye bye.